Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Life Conversations with a Twist. I have Erika on, and this is going to be such a great way to end the weekend. I don't know when anyone else is listening to this, but we are recording this on a Friday, your afternoon, my midday. This is going to be fire. I have so many questions for you, and I can already tell by your energy this is going to be great.
I cannot wait to be here, and I know we were going to have some audacious conversations.
Yes. Okay, so tell the listeners who you are, what you do, and then we're going to start. I want to start like little Erika growing up, how you got to do the work that you're doing now.
Okay, well, I'm just going to take you back then. I'm going to give you the 2-minute elevator pitch. Born, raised in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the good old Pilgrims landed in 1620. Went to school at Villanova, got my degree in civil engineering. My grandfather and uncle were both mechanical engineers. I decided at that moment I wanted to change the world in environmental engineering. Long story short, after graduating 4 years of engineering school, I got into the construction industry. Hard hat, steel toe boots, no idea exactly what I was doing. But let me tell you, it has been a fun industry to be involved with. Challenging, yet fun. The hard hat, the steel toe boots, the board tables, the mission critical things that we work on each and every day to bring people things like electricity and things like gas and all of the things in between. Meanwhile, I have two amazing kids. I have a daughter who just turned 9 like a few moments ago, meaning a few days ago, but I want to just hold it sacred. I still call her 8, and a son who just turned 12. We love to travel. We live in Pennsylvania, but I always say on the other side of the baseball cap and the dance hat and the hard hat, I also wear quite a few other hats, and I call it my big sombrero. Both, I have a podcast, so I have a podcast called Grit, Grace, and Glitz, which has been going on for 4 years now, being gritty, giving ourselves the grace that we need and certainly deserve, and obviously celebrating all the glitz, the things that we do each and every day. I am a TEDx and a keynote speaker. Really, my mission is to go out there and talk about the word audacity, the audacity to make meaningful connections, the audacity to be resilient, or the audacity just to show up as you. Hence, I'm writing my second book. It's called Audacious Expansion, that comes out in October. It comes out in January. In October, I'm hosting the Audacious Woman Summit, which is going to be the catalyst for it. So it is the coming out party for the book. 170 women in the greater Philadelphia area, all audacious, bold, and brave, who are coming together, and that will lead into an amazing mastermind. In my spare time, I love to work out with my good old weighted vest and take my supplements because I have a wellness business, and my husband and I have a real estate business on the side. So we got a couple of things going on.
Wait, are you still in the construction area? Like
I am, and I still work full time training
in construction?
In construction, and now I actually do a lot of, I lead a group called Performance Systems, where we do all of continuous improvement. We work on a lot of analytics and Power BIs, as well as all of the field leadership development training and overarching safety initiatives, because safety is so mission critical, especially in the construction industry.
Where did you get your drive to do all this?
Oh, some days I ask myself the same thing, and I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to be pretty blunt here. It's hard for me to shut it off. Just like some people struggle with turning it on, it's equally as hard for me to shut it off. And I don't know which one's worse or better some days, because I really think it comes from a passion. I think it comes from wanting to really leave a legacy, really make a difference. And there's just this inner fire in my belly that when you feel aligned to what you're doing, how you're doing it, and the people you're doing it with, it's like a trifecta. Like I get up and I get excited to work on my missions.
I don't know. I mean, I do a lot myself, and my listeners probably know this about me. I get asked on the daily how I manage running 2 businesses, being a podcast, having 3 kids, running a women's retreat. I totally get all of it, but I'm like, I don't know, you just figure it out. And I still can do a paint by number at night and sit down with my family and have dinner and not feel crazy. But it's like, because I love doing all the things that I'm doing.
I totally agree. And I always say, listen, like it's messy though. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and one of my big things, and it's in my book, I call it balance is bullshit. Right? Like, I don't believe there's a balance. I don't believe like, hey, listen, my job's perfect and my marriage is perfect and everything with my kids is perfect. Like something's usually falling a little out of balance, but it's an integration. And sometimes it's in the mess that we realize like where we actually need to grow and where we're going. And it's the messy parts that actually sharpen our pencil that make us better. And, when people ask me, like yourself, like, how do you do it all, Erica? And I said, listen, I do what makes me happy.
Mhm.
And the audacity to do it all is doing all of what you want to do. And for some people, that may be one thing. For some people, that may be eight things. And like respecting that everyone has different drive and different motivation to do what they want to do. But really, the integration. And I think a big part of that, I talk about it too a lot is how I time block, and I really
Mhm.
think it's really like a critical skill. And maybe my engineering skills, that's what I got out of my 4-year degree, but like really being really efficient with my time and what's really important, what can be a no, what can come off my calendar, and what can I outsource.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and at the end of the day, that's truly what it is. And I'm like, when people are like, I gotta go to Costco, I'm like, oh, I Instacart that. Like, ain't no one's got time to go to Costco right now. Like, but it's true. It's like you find the ways to time block or to time save so you can open up your time to focus on other things. And I don't know, you just figure it out. And it's like
You do.
you're saying, like, once you have the passion for it, there's a drive that you can't even explain.
Yeah, and maybe it's the construction industry, but I'll give you an easy analysis or an analogy. Like I look at like women who like always have their nails done perfectly, and my nails are very rarely done. And
Yeah.
when they are, it's many times because I've either painted them or I have my daughters painted them, and every once in a while I'll get them done. But I just don't have the time during the week to like make that a priority. And it's not that I think that any woman that or man that's doing it like shouldn't do it. I'm like cheering them on, but it's just not one of my priorities, right? Like so
Hmm.
I always say, listen, we make time for what we want to make time for. We
Hmm.
all have 24 hours in a day. And I know we all have, I always say to people like, well, you can't compare everyone's 24 hours the same way if they don't have kids or they don't have this. I'm like, well, listen, we all have 24 hours and we decide what we want to do with them. I decided to have kids, right? Does that add another layer of complexity? Absolutely, but does it add another layer of joy beyond belief, right?
Hmm. So true. Okay, I have lots of questions for you. Back to your podcast real quick. I know you said you're at 170 episodes. Kudos to you. What do you talk about? Who do you interview people? Like give the listeners a little bit about like what your podcast is all about.
Yeah. So I just want to let everyone know that Great Grace and Glitz came out of COVID. So some people learned the violin, some people decided to learn how to speak Chinese. I was like, I want to be able to connect with people, and felt like an isolating time. And it seemed like a perfect opportunity to start a podcast, to be able to have that belly to belly connection virtually and
Mhm.
to be able to really get to know people. And you and I started even before this podcast began, and we talked about like, hey, you ask the questions and you talk about the things that you probably would never discover even in like 5 lunches with someone on a podcast. You learn some of the deeper, darker things that maybe wouldn't always be susceptible to either sharing or asking. And so, really, reason I came up with Grit, Grace, and Glitz, and in that order specifically, is I really believe that in order to show up in life, we have to be gritty, right? We have to have the grit. We have to be the sandpaper sometimes, and sometimes that's not easy. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have to celebrate the glitz, the good things that are going on every day. And I don't mean the fancy Louis Vuitton bags or the Rolls Royce car, whatever. Neither of which I have. But we have to celebrate the good things that are going on each day. But it's really in the middle that I put the word grace,
Mm.
and I put it there very intentionally because between being gritty and celebrating, there needs to be the grace with each other because we have to recognize that some days the joy's not going to happen. Some days we're not going to be as gritty. We're only going to give 20% that day because that's all we can give.
Mhm.
And to remind ourselves that that's really has to be the bridge between everything we do in life.
Yeah.
And so I interview a lot of men and women who have stories to share, stories to share that could inspire someone, stories to share that they haven't shared yet, stories to share that, quite frankly, inspire me and make me learn and grow each and every day, but ultimately to make an impact to someone else that's listening to that, whether they're in the gym, they're taking that walk, they're on the treadmill, whatever it may be, they hear something and it just may change the trajectory of their day, of their month, and perhaps even their life. And really, I actually just started a new series within my podcast, and it's called the Audacious Expansion series, which is actually walking people through parts in my book. Because as we get ready for it to come out, In about 5 months, I'm going to be getting people excited about it, learning about it, talking about it, why I decided to write a book, how I wrote the book, like all the nitty gritty secrets. So if you're looking at my podcast and you're thinking, hey, maybe I'll take a listen, there's going to be a special series called the Audacious Expansion.
I love it. Your mission for your podcast is the exact reason why I do mine too. I only do women, but that was my thing. Like I would go to lunch and these women would like just pour out all these things that they're going through. And I'm like, God, you need to tell your story because I guarantee someone else out there is going through the same thing and they can be inspired, they can be empowered, they could, you're right, it can like totally change the trajectory of their life. And so I love it. I'm here for it. I'm going to follow you. I do want to hear about your book because it's on my goal list to write a book. Scares the crap out of me. I have no idea what the hell I'm going to talk about. But did you say this is your second book?
Yeah, so I
What was
was
your first?
no, and I have a book called You've Got This Boss Mama it's about 9 years old. And I was a co-author of that book, and really talking about motherhood, at the time when I had like a 1 and 3 year old, and reminding myself that you could be a mom and you could like still have a life outside of it. And just because you were doing one or the other, or you weren't at the school play and you were, at a board meeting, or you were at the school play and not at the board meeting, it's okay. And in there I talk a lot about not dimming your sparkle, right? Like not saying, hey, I have to take a time out just because you decide to integrate children into your life.
Oh, so
And
good.
I feel like it was very different when our mothers were growing up, that it felt like there was like, it seemed like it was more of a choice. Like, are you going to be a stay-at-home mom, or are you going to go like back to work? And the women that went back to work was like, and I even remember, I mean, 20 years ago, now my kids are only, at this point, 9 and 12, but even 12 years ago, it was still different. And now
Mhm.
it's just like common acceptance, but it was still a little edgy. I remember someone even at work saying to me, oh, you're going to put your kids in daycare? And I'm like, yes. Yes, and they're going to learn and they're going to grow and they're going to learn like skills that they may not learn. And one of my biggest skills that I always say my kids learn was survival of the fittest by Darwin, right? Like when mom was late and like I was like the last one running in the door and they like, we're going to charge you like $25 a minute. And like they didn't have an extra snack, like they just learned to survive, right? And I was like, listen, we're still winning.
That's so true. I feel like a hot mess. Like we showed up at my son, it just went into TK, started TK yesterday, and like we were late to orientation, then we couldn't figure out what classroom he was in. Then we were late the first day because we couldn't find parking. I was like, hot mess express right here. But I'm a freaking working mom. Like, I mean, what do you want me to do? You know?
Yeah. And I
Uh,
promise you, like, if you're listening to this podcast right now, which I know a lot of women do, like, it's okay. Like, the things
mhm.
they are learning from you doing that far, far, far exceed them remembering that, like, you had the perfect outfit laid out for them, or that you cooked the brownies for the play, or, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to remember all that. They're going to remember your work ethic, and like they're going to remember like those days when it was messy and you showed them how you could have the resilience to get through a tough day.
Thank you for that reminder, Erica. Because
You
seriously,
don't
some
need
days
it.
I'm like,
I'm coaching myself too right now.
I'm like every day, can you just remind myself? No,
Yes.
I totally agree too. And some days feel a lot of pressure behind it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm raising great humans. They're great children. I get to be present. I get to work from home. I get to pick them up from school. They get to see me. Now my daughter follows me on social media. She sees, these women that I'm, interviewing, and I'm like, I'm only like setting the groundwork for her to be hopefully in the right direction.
Yeah, and they're getting like a mini MBA by watching you. I always say that. And it's interesting because my son came to us about 3 years ago and said, hey, mom and dad, I want to start a business. And he's seen us be entrepreneurial. Well, long story short, fast forward 3 years later, he still has a business. It's called Hole in One. We live on a golf course. He collects the golf balls, he washes them, he cleans them, and he sells them. The kid has made over $6,000 in the last 3 summers, before the age of 11. And he also did an entrepreneur program, after school, which was pretty intense. He was with sixth graders through 12th graders, and he was only in sixth grade this year. And he learned so much, his public speaking skills, the way he interacted with adults. Like, and again, I'm not giving my husband and I all the credit, but I will give us part of the credit because I know he watched that, right? Like
Yeah,
that, you don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to start a business. Like
totally.
he saw me building businesses. He saw my husband working on our real estate projects, like he he saw that in us, and it's pretty special.
That's so cool. So what is your second book about?
So my second book, and January of 2026, it's called Audacious Expansion, and it's really about expanding into the best version of ourselves, right? And when sometimes people you hear the two words audacious and expansion, you're like, that means bold, and that means I have to grow. And yes, yes, and yes, because in order, if we don't change, we die. If we don't grow, we become stagnant. And at some point, but it doesn't mean you have to do it like me or like Heather. Like you don't have to be on stage. You don't have to be on social media. You don't have to be starting a podcast. It could be your own personal growth. It could be putting your sneakers back on and getting back to the gym. It could be writing that letter that you've been meaning to write to that, broken friendship for a while. Whatever it is, like where do you need to expand to let go, to move on, and to build your life the way you're intended to live it? We have a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being on this earth. Like you were made to do something special. And special doesn't have to mean, again, like glam and, lights and camera action, but you were meant to leave the world better than you found it. You were meant to have a legacy here. And I say, listen, don't wake up in that rocking chair when you're 85 and say coulda, shoulda, woulda. And most people, if you go back and you interview people who are at that stage of life, their biggest regret is that they didn't take more risk. They didn't do the things that they knew they really wanted to do. Starting to put that fear behind them. And really where the audacity came from was 3 years ago. Had a pretty horrific accident and incident that happened to me that really unlocked this energy. And I thought I was always living this big, bold, audacious life. And I realized that I was actually kind of playing smaller than I really wanted to be. And at that moment, because it was a life or death situation, I was like, was I ready to leave the earth with what I had done up to that point? And the answer was no. And granted, I was young, or I consider myself still relatively young, but I wasn't ready to like say I've given all that I wanted to the universe.
Friends, I have such an exciting product that I need to share with you. Are you someone who hates washing their face at night? Yep, that's me. For years, I never wanted to wash my face. And finally, I found a product that actually gets me excited to wash my face every night, and that is Clear Stem. I have tried so many products over the years to find the one that I truly love, the one that makes my skin glow, the one that makes me feel good when I wash it, and the one that gets me excited to want to wash my face. I discovered Clear Stem through another podcaster, and I was like, I got to give this a try. I instantly became obsessed. Some of my favorite products are the hydrating cleanser, which I use every night. It smells delicious. It makes my skin feel so great. Once a week, I use their Vita Scrub, which is an exfoliating cleanser, and that just has these little micro beads in it that just make your face feel so beautiful. I can just feel them get into my pores and really give my face this huge glow. And then one of my other favorite products is the Hydra Berry mask. And once you wash your face, you put a layer of this on your skin and you go to sleep and you wake up and your face feels like butter. I get so many compliments on my skin now. I don't get a lot of breakouts anymore. My face feels like nice and hydrated and bright, and it's all because of the Clear Stem product. What I love about them is that their products are all clean. They're good for your skin, they're good for your body, and they have so many different product lines based on the type of skin you have. So go down in the show notes, click on the link. I'm giving 15% off to anybody who uses my code, and I promise you, once you try this, you are going to be obsessed just as much I am. So again, go down to the show notes, click on the link, receive 15% off, and give Clear Stem a try. I promise you will not regret it.
I was going to ask you, was there a moment that was like that, like either a specific day in time or where it was like something's got to change? And clearly there was a moment.
Yeah. So that was back on June 16th of 2022. And, we never think it's going to happen to us, right? Like, again, I was, middle of 2022, and I have a 6 and a 9-year-old. Life is good. Husband's in Kansas City. I'm stopping in for a coffee meeting and headed into the office building that I had worked at for 10 years. I remember taking that last sip of Himalayan sea salt water, the warm one that's supposed to give you the glowy complexion, and started gathering my belongings. And then as I opened my door, there he was. It was, you see a man I had never seen before, a man that I didn't know had been in prison for 12 years, a man who had come to Philadelphia the night before and had assaulted 5 women, and including with those 5 women, a woman that he had raped that morning. The man proceeded to, as I asked him, could I help you, punch me straight in the face, pull me out of my car by my hair, throw me to that asphalt pavement, and beat the living crap out of me. He proceeded, as I kicked and screamed and his saliva and blood and everything else rolled down my face, he took the crease of his elbow. And I knew that was probably my last breath. And those 3 milliseconds felt like 30 minutes, thinking of all the things that I hadn't done, how I was going to survive, and God forbid, leaving Drew and Adeline at the ages of 6 and 9.
Yeah.
And as he squeezed, I knew that may be my last moment. And thank God it wasn't. I was able to somehow, some way, and I truly believe, thank God for bringing me back and really giving me this moment, giving me this as a gift to say, you need to go out and do something with it. And as I got up and ran with all of my might to that office building that seemed so close most days, but that day seemed so far, he was in my car trying to take it. He fled by foot. He started burying himself in the marshes and the grasses. They had to send the dogs and the drones in. I was raced to trauma, detectives, doctors, nurses, police reports galore. And I remember a few days later finally getting home and sitting on my back porch and thinking, I just want to be the victim. I just want to stay in this sweatshirt. And I don't want to ever deal with the world again. God, why did you do this to me? But it was in that moment when I heard the kids' laughter, when I heard the splashes, when I knew that didn't happen to me, but it happened for me to go and make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided in that moment, and I'm not saying everyone can decide this quickly. So please, if you have gone through a traumatic event in your life, or your punch looks different, it doesn't happen this quickly for everyone, but it did happen that quickly for me. And I truly believe it was a sign to say, hey, listen, you need to go out and be that big, bold, audacious self. You need to go share this story. You need to go be the light. You have something in you, Erika, that I gave you that maybe I didn't give someone else, and you need to go out there and spread that like confetti. And that's exactly what I've done over the last 3 years.
Wow. Did you know this guy?
No, complete random. He had been in prison for 12 years. He had stolen, had been smuggled drugs back and forth from New York to Pennsylvania, got out prematurely, had actually beaten up 5 prison guards when he was in his first sentencing for 12 years. And as he made his way to Philadelphia on June 15th, there's ring cameras of him just walking down the street, randomly assaulting women, slept in a homeless shelter, got off at a local station and pushed a woman in a vestibule, raped her, took her phone, got back on the bus, proceeded to change his clothes, got back on the bus, and that's the station that I was at. I didn't even know there was a bus station, quite frankly. I was in suburbia Pennsylvania, like quiet, quaint town of Bluebell, Pennsylvania, where, the median income is probably in the 6 figures, and never thinking this was going to happen to me.
Wow.
And 3 years later, I still have gone to court with him 10 different times. I'm working with legislation right now to get the law changed, because if you get strangled in the state of Pennsylvania and don't know the person, it's a misdemeanor versus a felony, which is 1 to 3 years versus over 10 years. And I am doing everything I can not to change. It won't change my case now,
Mm-hmm.
but if it changes the life of someone else, man, woman, doesn't matter, then my legacy's been left here. And that law is going to be named actually the Erika's Law.
Good for you. I always feel like there's always a moment in someone's life that really is that like moment for them where they're like, I can either like live the way I'm living and be okay with it, or I can do more. And
Right.
I had that moment too. And now looking back, I'm like, I just got to keep pushing forward. I get stuck in the what is next for me. Like I know I
Mm,
have more to give. I know I'm inspiring. I know I'm empowering. People tell me on the daily. Like I know this,
you
but I still
are.
struggle with like what it is,
Hmm.
you
And
know?
I think that's hard. It's hard to figure that out. And I'll be honest with you, Heather, like I don't have it all figured out,
Yeah.
right? Like it's ebbs and flows. So obviously the podcast started before this, but then it was like, well, now I want to speak, and now I want to have this Audacious Woman Summit, and now I want to lead a mastermind, and now I want to write a book. And it just keeps like compiling that, wow, like it's kind of like peeling back the onion.
Hmm.
And I don't know if there's ever a pinnacle. Like I don't know if you know, like, well, this is exactly what I'm going to do, right? Like,
Hmm.
and to me, that's all part of that expansion. And as we expand, just like a fish that you put in a small little pond, it will only grow to the size of that pond. But you put it into a bigger pond, it's ready to grow and change and become something more. And I
Hmm.
think we're like that, that there's no prescriptive way,
Hmm.
but it's what's going to leave that passion and purpose. And quite frankly, we can't be afraid to also talk about like, what is it going to do from a monetary standpoint?
Hmm.
Because when you have money, I look at money as energy, but energy allows us to create more energy. And we can't be afraid to talk about that, to say, hey, listen, I have to find something that's actually going to produce income too. So I can make sure that I can leave my legacy and build that foundation, write that law, right? Like make that change. And
So
that's
good.
challenging for a lot of us that are entrepreneurs
Hmm.
because we have the passion, we have the purpose, but you have to make sure that there's the economic side of it too.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. I really needed that reminder today. So thank you for that. Because I'm always like, I need to know. No, you don't need to know,
No,
Heather.
you
You'll
don't need
figure
to
it out.
know.
It'll come. And it does, and it has, and I think once you put it out in the universe that this is the work you want to do, this is, what you're meant to be, that it's crazy how things just kind of fall into place.
And Heather, the one other thing that I want to add in there, and I think you and I are very similar this way, um, is I think where we want to know comes the masculine energy.
Mm,
And I often try to operate in that space, whether it's because I was in construction, whether it's because I'm a firstborn and an Aries and a high D and all of the things and a perfectionist, over recovering perfectionist. I, the older I get, the more I recognize I need to be in that feminine state and in flow. And I'm not saying I have to wear a flowy dress. I'm not saying that I have to, you know what I mean, walk around and barefoot. I am saying, listen, when you let the universe guide you, when you take the time to listen and be silent, it's amazing what you can figure out. But sometimes, and I'm probably the most guilty of it, I stay so freaking busy that I don't give the universe time to tell me what I'm even supposed to do.
mm-hmm,
And then I wake up and I feel frustrated
mm-hmm.
because I'm like, ooh, I didn't go down the right path, or I didn't give this enough time because I'm so worried about the deadline. And so I just want to remind anyone that's listening that if you feel that way or you felt cranky before, like in that crutch, I know where you're coming from.
So good. So true. That's why I've been putting on my weighted vest and going for a walk and putting on a good podcast because that is my time to, and it's even 30 minutes. And I've tried to do it in the morning because it like really jumpstarts the day. But
Yep.
that has helped me a lot to get a lot of clarity, a lot of like inspiration, and a lot of motivation to like do more.
And the one thing that I will say that's helped me with that, because I'm the same way, I'm like, the reason you're like, okay, well, I'm getting the weighted vest on, I'm getting the steps in, I'm listening to personal development, and you're like, check, check, check. And I know the reason because I'm the same way is do me a favor. Then when next time you go on a walk, take 5 minutes and shut the podcast off. Put the phone away and just be in the walk, be in the nature. And like honestly, like that's when the stuff comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that to like be, I'm saying it because I'm probably more guilty than you, but I will say like when you actually intentionally do that. Now, I wish I could tell you I could do that my whole walk, but I would feel like I was wasting time, like so I get it. And let's face it, a good podcast always works, but it's really crazy what will come to me.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to try that. I'll try that.
I'm
Oh,
curious to know how it goes. I mean,
okay.
do it for a few days. Don't just do it and say like, Oh, the universe didn't tell me where I was supposed to go.
It's so funny. Who inspires you? Like, obviously, like women, there's so many women in this realm that are doing this work. Has there been one person that's always inspired you, that you looked up to, that you admired, that's doing this work, or maybe not even doing this work, that just like encourages you and inspires you?
That's such a good question. And I really believe it's a culmination of a lot of different women because I take this from her and that
Mhm.
from her and this from this person. Um, but I joined 2 years ago, I was in a mastermind. And I think that's really what opened up a lot of being surrounding myself with other women that I could talk to about this stuff. Like, hey, I just want to work into the wee hours of the night, and I want to do this, and I want to wear like some of my other girlfriends, like who maybe like lived locally or were like my football, like, mamas here would look at me and be like, you're crazy. Like and I mean, not really, but you know what I mean? They're like,
Yeah.
why do you want to do all that extra stuff? Like, you don't even need to do it. And so I think when you get in the right mastermind and around the right group of people, and that was Amberly Largo's group that I was in, and it's the reason that I'm starting a mastermind. And I'm doing a boot camp mastermind the first 3 months of 2026 because I believe it's the time when you're like, I am ready to do this. But to me, it was because I was in the right room. It wasn't just Amberly, it was the other women that were part of it, where we shared our trials, we shared our tribulations. And really, what we're going to be doing in this boot camp is everyone's getting a copy of the book, and we're going to use the book to help us expand ourselves. It's people that come to the summit that are like, hey, I'm ready for this. I am ready to do this. But to your point, I just don't know exactly what. Should I turn right? Should I turn left? Should I go straight? Should I go
Mhm.
faster, slower? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know what gears to crank and really help, like, peeling back that onion and figuring that out.
So good. Tell us about the summit. I just saw you announced it, so tell us about it.
Well, the summit is actually almost sold out. We only have 20 tickets left.
And you said
Um,
170 women.
170
Okay.
women in
Uh-huh.
greater Philadelphia. It has been on my mind actually about a year ago.
So
I
this is
was
your first time doing it.
first time debut, have no idea what the heck I'm doing. No, I really
Okay.
don't. But that's the other part that I want to mention here is like when you have that on your heart, I could have made a million and seven excuses not to do it because I hadn't done it. The
Mhm.
money, the people, was everyone going to come, the fear, blah, 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 all the things. But I just made the commitment. And I always say when you make the commitment and then tell someone else, you're 78% more likely to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did. I just was like, I'm gonna have a summit. And then I was like, oh, sugar. Now I gotta figure out like the how and the what and the where and all the things in between. And it's been coming to fruition over like the last year. And we have sponsors there. We're going to have panels. We actually have a panel that's called the PG-13 panel. And we're going to talk about the things that like we don't always talk about at these type of events because we're so status quo,
Mhm.
right? And we're going to have hot seats and we're going to have panels and we're going to have speakers and walls of audacious actions that we're going to leave with. And I am just so excited because I know this isn't the first. I know this is the first, but I know it's not the last.
Mhm.
And I truly believe when you bring the right energy and the right people together, magnificent things are about to unfold.
Mhm. Oh my God, I love this for you. I need to just know about the next one.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know. I know. If I could get you on a jet plane, we'd get you here on October 17th. But I promise we'll do another one in 2026. So we'll like save the date.
I love it. I went to a Rachel Hollis one of when she was back when she was doing hers,
Yeah.
and I think there was like 6,000 women. It was insane, but it was so life changing for me. And it was one of those things that I came back and I was like, yes. So I totally believe in the power of having events like this, especially just like these amazing women who want a change. That's why I do women's retreats, which is obviously on a very smaller level, but the impact that it makes when those women leave is like worth
Oh,
every
massive.
second.
And I intentionally wanted like the room's capacity is 170. I didn't want it much bigger. Really, like I want people to feel seen and heard and not feel like, I mean, granted, if I'm at the Mel Robbins or Rachel Hollis level one day and I have to open it up to 6,000, I'll figure that out. Like I told you, everything's figure outable.
Yeah.
But really, my intent was I want this event to be sold out. I want this event to be with the right people in the right room, but I also want it to feel intimate. I want them
Mhm.
not to feel like they're just number 5,632. I really want people to feel seen and heard and feel that energy in that room that day. And that was very, very intentional.
I love
And
that.
I'm hoping next year maybe we have to double the size of it. Maybe it's going to be the 300 person summit.
I like it. I love you're putting
Or
it out
when it
there.
is. I shouldn't say if, I should say when.
Exactly. How do you have so much energy? I love your energy. That was my thing. I'm like, I get fired up, but man, come like 5 o'clock, I'm like, done. Are you always like this? And like, is this just your personality, or do you like, I'm always curious, is it how you eat? Is it, moving your body? Is it like, what is it to have a high energy?
I love this question. So my husband frequently refers to me as like the Energizer Bunny.
Mm,
He's like, you're either completely on or completely off. And then like once we unplug you or take the battery out, like you're done.
yeah.
Like when I sleep, right? When I work, right? Like when I'm in mom mode, I'm in mom mode. And I truly believe that a lot of it comes from um, holistic wellness, right? I was a fitness instructor. I used to own a gym. I really believe in movement every single day, but I also really believe, especially for women, I'm in my mid 40s, right? We're all going to be in that perimenopause, menopause stage at some point of our life. And even if you're 35 listening to this, like, get ready for it, right? Like you need to be supplementing yourself the right way. Like we're no longer, our foods are depleted. We're not getting what we need from real food anymore. We need things that assist us, that help us, right? Like you would never be like, if you were like training for like an Ironman or you were training for, a fitness competition, you probably wouldn't do it on your own. You'd hire a coach, right? And just like that, sometimes you need assistance and sometimes you need help. And I will say that things like nootropic that I take every morning, I have a product that I share, and it's called Harmonia, and it's really helping women who are in our 40s, 50s, who are like, hey, listen, I need a little bit of help because my mood feels a little bit off, or hey, listen, I'm starting to get a hot flash, or hey, listen, I'm not feeling 100%. I'm feeling a little fuzzy some days, right? And I truly believe in the right supplementation. And last is like mindset, right? Like
Mhm.
knowing when to pause, knowing when to rest, and knowing when to defend the time for you, right? Like you can only pour from a cup that has water in it. And if it doesn't have the water in it, just like your energy, you're not going to be able to give anyone else a cup of water. So it's not selfish to do so. It's selfless. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you
Mhm.
don't show up and do that for yourself. And sometimes it's, hey, mom's going to the gym, and everyone's like, whoa, it's a middle. And I'm like, yep, yep. It's because I know I'm gonna come back better. I
For
know I'm gonna
sure.
come back like recharged.
So good. I would love for you to share the link for people to get these supplements too,
Perfect. I would love to.
in the podcast
Absolutely.
note, because I feel like I'm 43. Most people in my life are in the 40s. We're all
Yep.
going through crazy things right now.
Yep. 45. I get it. Like, you know what I mean? It's that middle of like, oh my goodness, what's happening? No one gave me like this warning on that my body was gonna change and things may not feel 100% on par.
It's real.
It's real. It's real. And I think we have to humanize and we need to talk about it more because I think what happened again, going back to like our mother's generations or generations prior to us, it was like, oh, she's just crazy.
Yeah.
No, there's other things going on here, right?
I just feel
And like,
crazy all the time.
so speaking to the PG-13 panel, we're going to be talking about hormones.
Love it. Yep. I've been having more hormone people related, whether they're doing that type of work or along that, because I think it's so important,
So
especially we're
important.
all like in it right now. I feel like,
Totally.
yeah. You have brought the fire. You have brought so much inspiration and all the things this beautiful Friday afternoon. But what do you want to leave the listeners with today? Anything we didn't
Mm.
talk about?
Mm.
Anything that is like microphone drop?
Mm. Drop the mic. I just want to remind you that we constantly, and we're all guilty of it, especially with social media, to compare ourselves to everyone else. And just reminding ourselves that your journey is going to look someone different than someone else's journey. And we have almost 80,000 thoughts a day. And of those 80,000 thoughts a day, 90% of them are negative, and
Mhm.
95% of them are repeating. And so if you've doubted yourself, if you're comparing yourself, if you felt like, hey, I'm not enough, Like it's 100% normal. And sometimes like when I still do that, because I preach like, you're amazing and let's keep going and be audacious. But there's days, even earlier this week on Tuesday, I told my husband, I'm like, I'm ready to throw the towel in. I was like, I can't do the summit. I was like, how am I going to get this all together? The book is due. I owe another manuscript this Sunday to like my editor. And I was like, I'm never going to get all this done. And I was doubting myself. Fear crept in. I clearly needed some more adaptogens to like bring my stress levels down. And I like look back now 4 days later and I'm like, I kind of laugh about it. I'm like, but it's normal.
Yeah.
It is 100% normal to feel that way, to make sure that you find that group of men, women, friends, mother, whoever it is that you can call, that you can leave the voice message to and say, I'm having one of these days, and reminding yourselves that you're not alone. And I truly believe that connection and community is really like my secret sauce to everything in life. And it was my secret sauce to getting through this assault. It wasn't the doctors or the medicine or the nurses or the bandages. It was the connection with my kids. It was my sister jumping in the car to be the first one by my bedside. It was my husband jumping on a plane from Kansas City to make sure that I was still alive. It was, the friends who drove up 3 days later just to sit by my side and make sure I was okay. I really believe that connection is our oxygen. And if you don't have those relationships, work on them. Be that person to someone else. And let's leave here and be that light.
So good. My business is called The Connection Hive, and I 100% believe in connection. It's like you have your word, that's my word, because I'm like, it's so true in all aspects of business. It's what I preach to my clients. It's what I preach in my own life. And so thank you for that. Thank you for your energy, your motivation, all the work that you're doing for all of us. And I'm so glad that we got connected. Thank you. And I feel honored to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.